Okay, this is Victor Magnamara, also known as Max Day. And in this video I'm going to show you something special. I think Vader will be touring South America, so this piece is mainly focused on that, especially because I'm Chilean. It might sound a bit weird that I'm speaking in English, but this is the best way for me to reach more people worldwide. Subtitles will be available below. So yeah, let's start with a small introduction. My knowledge and experience with Vader goes back to the early days. I first read about them in underground magazines around 1990. Back then, discovering bands felt like digging for treasure. I started to collecting magazines, reading interviews, and I became a metal maniac until today. I was also into bands like Imperator, Ruth, Master Hammer, and other Eastern European acts. That whole scene had something raw and real for me.
Dokładnie próbki na to intro, które jest na From Beyond, nazwałem filmów tamtych czasów.
Piękny film.
Tak. To była właśnie taka po prostu próba nagrania tak na żywo.
Then came the explosion of death metal, and Vader released the ultimate incantation. I thought it was great, but after that, they kind of disappeared from my radar for a while, until Sothis. That demo released in '94 completely blew my mind. I felt like the band spirit came back stronger, more intense, more powerful. I must have listened it to thousands of times. For me, it's like raining blood, pure energy, perfectly structured, relentless. What really struck me was the riffing. It had this almost surgical precision, constantly pushing forward, taking you from one section to another, building tension and intensity. And the sound was also incredible. And when I realized that it was just a demo, it impressed me even more. Later, I got a copy released by Repulse Record from Dave Rotten. I remember the artwork was amazing too. What surprised me even more was the context of the time. Around 94, 96, many underground bands started to move in toward a more mainstream sound. Bands like Paradise Lost, Carcass, even Amorphis. Some of that direction, honestly, I didn't like it at all. But Vader did the opposite. They became heavier, more aggressive, along with bands like Sinister. They were among the few that pushed further into brutality instead of something softer. For me, this also connects me with bands like Angel Corps. It's not about melancholy, it's the same feeling. When you listen it gets me chills. It's intense, electrifying, powerful, not just the music, but the whole concept behind it.
Okay, here we are in Holstein. I'm Victor McNamara, as well known as Max Lodery, and we came here to the memorabilia of Vader's Morbid Reich demo. And we are here along with Peter.
Hello.
Peter, tell us what it was the original idea of this demo, because it was very successful demo. So what it was the vibe, the surrounding, the intention? Tell please us.
You know, nobody was thinking about the success of demo tape, so that came later, and nobody expected that. By the way, the biggest success and actually something we're waiting for was a deal. You know, so actually, Morbid Reich demo led us to the deal with Heraldic Records for the debut album, and we were waiting for the first album around 10 years. So finally, after Morbid Reich was released, after Digby Person gathered in hand and sent us back the letter with Heraldic wants Vader, so everything restarted, you know, for us. So that was the most important part of Morbid Reich demo tape. So leading to the deal and leading to the first album, released 2 years later.
Right.
And, you know, the idea came just, we're living as a band, so we already had one demo tape called Necrolust recorded in 1989, and that was the first tape recorded with Doc right after he joined the band in '88. So after 1 year of preparing new songs and rehearsing, so we were ready to record something better, something fresh, and Morbid Reich was actually this thing, you know, we were waiting for. So recorded in the same place in Holstein in a radio studio. It was not really prepared for recording any music, but that was the only option for us. So nobody complained, you know. So we just we used the situation. We recorded. We had a demo tape, and as I said at the beginning, so the demo tape gave us a deal. So that was the most important for band.
I forgot to mention that we are in Holstein, and this is the city, home city of Peter. That's true.
This is the home city of Vader, you know. But now, of course, now nobody lives in Holstein, but the first almost 20 years, I think. So the whole band was here. So we had the school here, we had the houses here, so we are close, and we're jamming here. So everything was happening here in Holstein. So Holstein was very active city. We had pretty strong metal scene over here, and but as I mentioned before, since over 20 years I'm not living here anymore, I live around.
And finally, a reflection on the performance and the legacy of the band under a theater show.
I like Vader, as many. It blew up my mind in '96, and I followed the career of Vader because I was into the underground magazines, and the sound it changed drastically in the beginning of '90s, between '96, in my opinion. So, can you tell us, please, what is the main motive for keep this entity, in my opinion, loyal to the roots of metal, this wild metal?
Good or not is a matter of opinion. Thank you. If you like it, I just like this kind of music. I love metal since the beginning. That's why I started to play music, to compose metal, and not just listen to. But I'm still a fan. I'm still listening to music. I'm still a fan of the bands who infected me before I started play. But the time came when I started to think about doing something in our own. And after I met Zbyszek, we started Vader here. So we wanted to play as extreme as possible. But of course, in '83 when we started, Priest, Motorhead, Saxon, these were very extreme bands. So we were playing more like this, But after Show No Mercy came up, and the first Metallica, all this thrash metal scene hit the whole world. It came to Poland a little bit later, so it was like a 1 or 2 years delay, but still infected pretty much with pretty brutality. So after what we heard, we thought no, this is the way. This is the way. We have to play faster. We have to play more brutal. We have to more evil, And the older Vader started. That's why after this first Metal Mania Festival, and after this, we split with Zbiggy because Zbyszek wanted to play more like the old Vader when we started, and we wanted to play faster and more brutal. He didn't like that, so we had to split, and we started to play just in our own way. And he started to play in his own way. He started the band called Raxas. Yeah. And play more like old Vader, style. More heavy metal, more speed metal kind of stuff. And we started to play faster. We got that's a long story, but actually in '88 when Doc joined the bands, like everything started. The Necrolas demo tape was the first step. Of course the sound was different because we had no instruments, we had no equipment, so everything was homemade. So we had no experience. So. We needed time just like to find out, the way, how to record, how to play, with instrument, how to use them. We just wanted to have a brutal sound, that's it. But if you had no guitar, no amp, no good, how to create it, So that's why the first years of Vader existence was like changing the sound, the studio is the other problem, If you don't know the studio, if you had like the time, limited, with the equipment you do not know, so it's really hard to create something, But we had to. That's why we did. Tonight we want to play this so-called Swedish session of debut album because this was never released because we didn't like its sound. There was no real drums over there. That's why finally we decided, with Eric Records to record it again in England. And the ultimate condition, it's a second session, English session. But the first entrance to the studio it was in Sunlight Studio in spring '92 in Sunlight Studio. It's with Thomas Kogberg. And if you will listen to the guitar sound, you can feel a little bit of Swedish sound of guitar, but the rest sounds totally different. It's not. We lost brutality because of this. Not real drums. It was kind of electronic pads. So Doug could not play. In 100% of abilities on this shit, so that's why we did it, but we were not satisfied, and we were asking and begging, Eric, just to make it again, even short time, because this is not it. They agreed. We did it again. And
pretty interesting. Didn't know it. I think it's not well known, this history about it.
It's well known in the biography, but the biography is written in Polish only. We're working on English edition now. It's funny because the Czech edition will be earlier, so it's almost done now. We have the Russian edition done, but because of war, so it was not released. So we just stopped this now for a moment for the better times. And so the English edition will be done probably next year and available. So then you will know a lot more about Vader beginning, because the biggest part of the album is the first 20 years, which is actually the most important, and there's so much happened there. The Poland in the 80s was so different, so it might be real interesting, for fans.
This question is related with the previous one. Do you have a vision about the metal culture nowadays? I think it's still challenging.
I had a vision in the 80s, when we started everything and all the metal started, the new generation,
New sound.
I followed the way and follow my road, I still, support the music I loved. Sometimes I discover something from a new generation of metal music, but, everything is too fast. Everything is, if you see the metal scene today, so-called metal band today wouldn't be called metal in 80s or 90s. So it's just too different. To me.
But it's different generation.
But this is different world, so I just follow my way. I'm not just judge, what's going on around, If people enjoy it, that's okay. So I get something I enjoy, and I know there's hundreds of thousands fans like me enjoying the brutal metal this way, and this is what we do the best. I think we don't need to show everybody that we can play different. We don't need it, so we do what we do, and I think nothing gonna change. We evolving, of course, with the music. We still got some influences from around, but they're not gonna be different metal. So we're gonna just evolve in the music we play. So if we record the next Vader album, still expect something very brutal, That's Vader.
I agree. Please tell us your future plans and the last words for this short interview.
The future plans. No, we still playing the 40th anniversary set list. This year we started in 2023 last year, and the word is to show there's still more countries, no more people asking for this, and so we can't just keep doing that for the next 2 or 3 years. So we're gonna change the set list a little bit this summer, because finally we will have the re-edition of Black to the Blind. So we wanna add the whole Black to the Blind as a part of the set list, and we changed the set list generally, like in a summer season. And at the end of the year we're gonna do something like this again. And there is a plan to record an EP with Michael drumming, because that will be his first experience with the studio with Vader. So before the full-length album going to be out, so we want to record something shorter, like a smaller format, and this should be available like probably the beginning to 2025 next year. And next year it's 25th anniversary of Litany, so probably we're going to play this album as a part of the show as well, because like this is one of the favorite albums for many fans, Vader fans around. And definitely we're gonna enter the studio to record a full-length album, but when exactly it's really hard to say. I think mostly the new album will be, the new full-length album will be available between 25-26. That's the real date.
Okay.
We're busy, man. We're touring.
Okay, Peter. Thank you for this short interview. Nice to talk to you, man.
So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm Victor McNamara, also known as Max Loader A, your graphic artist and video maker. And thanks for watching this small documentary about Vader in their own city. Thanks. Victor McNamara, Max Loader A, your complete metal graphic boutique.